The joy in accepting injustice. Geranda. When I gladly accept a reprimand for a mistake I have made, is what I am feeling pure. Look, if you cause damage and people reprimand you and you do not complain but rather are happy, saying, "Glory be to God, I needed that reprimand," you have only half of the joy. But if you do not do any damage and are unjustly reprimanded and you accept it with good thoughts, then you will have complete joy. I am not saying that you should seek unfair reprimands, because then the devil will entangle you in the sin of pride, but rather that you should accept injustice when it comes your way naturally and be joyful in it. There are 4 stages in confronting injustice. Let's say someone strikes you unjustly. If you are at the first stage, you strike back. If you are at the second stage, you feel very upset inside, but control yourself and do not speak. At the third stage, you are not agitated by the injustice, but at the fourth stage, you experience great joy, extraordinary spiritual gladness. When someone is wronged and proves that he was not at fault, he is justified and feels satisfied. In this case, he feels a worldly joy. But if he confronts the injustice spiritually, with good thoughts, and without trying to prove that he is innocent, he experiences spiritual joy. That's when he has divine consolation in his heart, and is moving in the realm of doxology, glorifying God. Have you any idea what joy can be felt by a soul that is wronged but does not attempt to justify itself, so that people will say, "Bravo," or "I am sorry"? It rejoices more in being wronged than in being justified. Those who reach this spiritual condition wish to thank the one who wronged them for the joy rendered in this life, but also for the eternal life that has been secured. How different is the spiritual from the worldly? In the spiritual life, things are in reverse. When you are left holding the short end of the stick, then you feel good, and when you give it to someone else, you feel badly. When you accept an injustice and are prepared to justify your neighbor, you accept Christ himself into your heart, who was often wronged and maligned. It is then that Christ cannot be evicted from your heart and fills you with peace and gladness. Try it, my children, and experience this greater joy. Learn to be happy with this spiritual joy, not with the worldly one, and every day it will be Easter. There is no greater joy than the joy you feel when you accept injustice. I wish everyone was unjust to me. I can honestly tell you that the sweetest spiritual joy I have experienced has been through accepting injustice. Do you know how much I rejoice when someone tells me that I am in error? Glory be to thee, O God, I say. From this I will get a reward, while if someone should call me a saint, I will be in debt. There is no sweeter thing than to endure injustice. One morning at my Kelavi, someone knocked at the door. I looked from the window to see who it was because it was not time to open yet. I saw a young man with a bright face and realized that he had had spiritual experiences, since the grace of God on his face betrayed him. For this reason, even though I was busy, I interrupted what I was doing, opened the door and invited him inside. I offered him some water and began to ask him about his life, seeing that he had spiritual content. So I asked him, "What do you do for a living, young man?" "What do I do for a living, father?" he responded. "I grew up in prison and spent most of my life there. I am now 26 years old." "What did you do to be thrown into prison, young man?" I asked him. And he opened up his heart to me. From the time I was a child, I felt sorrow for all the unfortunate people who were suffering. I knew all these suffering people, not only in my parish, but also from other parishes, because the parish priest and parish council were constantly gathering funds for buildings, halls, and so on, or for various repairs. They had entirely neglected the poor families. I did not judge whether these projects were necessary or not. I only saw that there were many unfortunate and needy people. I would go secretly and steal from the money they were gathering for the various projects. I would take a fair amount, but not all of it. Then I would buy food and other things which I would leave outside the poor people's homes without anybody seeing me. Then I would go to the police directly and confess. I stole the money from the church and have spent it without saying anything more. I didn't want them to accuse someone else unjustly. Then they would beat me, call me names, but I kept silent. Then they would lock me up in jail for a period of time. This went on for years. The whole town of 30,000 people, as well as other nearby towns, knew me and ridiculed me as a notorious thief. I just kept silent and experienced an inner joy. Once they locked me up in jail for 3 years. Sometimes they would lock me up unjustly for a time, and when they caught the real thief, they would let me go. If they did not catch him, I would stay in jail for as long as his crime called for. That is why I told you, Father, that most of the years of my life had been spent in jail. I listened to him carefully and then told him, "My young man, as good as this seems to be, it is not good, and you must never do it again. Listen to what I have to tell you. Will you do what I tell you?" He said. "I will, Father. I want you to go away from your hometown to another town where I know some good people who will help you get settled. There you will work and help the poor people as much as you can from what you earn. This has greater value, but even when one does not have anything to give to the poor, but feels genuine compassion for them in his heart, then he offers a higher kind of charity, because it is the charity of his heart. For if he had something to give, he would feel joy. But when he has nothing to give, he feels pain in his heart." He promised to follow my advice and departed joyfully. After 7 months, I received this letter from Corydallos prison in which he had written, "Surely, Reverend Father, you will be surprised to receive my letter from this prison. After the direction you gave me to reform my life and the promise I made to you, I want you to know that I am serving a jail sentence that I have already served. A mistake was made. Thank God that there is no human justice, otherwise spiritual people will be deprived of their heavenly reward." When I read the last words of his letter, I marveled at the young man who had taken so seriously the spiritual life and had comprehended the deeper meaning of life. A thief for the sake of Christ. He had Christ in his heart. He could not contain himself because of the joy he experienced. He had a divine foolishness about him and was experiencing a spiritual celebration. Geronda, was he receiving his joy from the ridicule of the people? The joy came from the injustice. He was a worldly man who had not read the lives of the saints or the writings of the Holy Fathers. Even though he was unjustly beaten, imprisoned, and ridiculed as the town thief, he kept silent and faced everything in a most spiritual manner. He was a young man who did not care to establish himself, but only to help others. Notorious thieves are rarely imprisoned, while this young man was jailed twice for the same robbery, and he had been jailed unjustly for other robberies until they were able to find the real thief. But the joy this young man experienced was not to be found, even among the entire population of his town. 30,000 little joys in the town's whole population could not amount to his great joy. This is why I say that a spiritual man simply does not have sorrows. When his love is increased and his heart is kindled with a divine passion, there is no room for grief or sorrow. The great love for Christ overcomes the pain and sufferings caused by people.